Welcome to Conversations in Ethics and Leadership. I'm John Knapp, Director of the Francis Marlin Mann Center for Ethics and Leadership here at Samford University. Our guest today is Mr. Jim Leach, Chair of the National Endowment for the Humanities. Mr. Leach spent 30 years in the United States Congress representing a district in Iowa and was more recently appointed by President Obama to chair the NEH. He's at Samford today to give a talk in this room on the subject of civility. Jim, welcome to Samford.
Well, I'm honored to be here, especially at this fine college.
Well, you're giving a national tour with stops in every state to talk about civility. And we know that civility, or I should say the loss of civility in our public discourse, is of concern to many Americans. What do you believe is the root of the problem?
Well, there are a number of aspects of this particular issue. Some relate to American history. We've had other episodes of kind of outbreaks of uncivility, and sometimes for very good reason. The Civil War certainly was reflected this. Actually, in the early 19th century, a vice president shot our greatest Secretary of the Treasury, Alexander Hamilton, dead. And actually a very legal uncivil act. It was in a duel in the state of New Jersey. But the times are pretty difficult. We're engaged in two wars. We have an economy that's sputtering, high unemployment, some social changes in American society that are challenging. We've had this circumstance before. In the 19th century was rife with anti-immigrant feelings, and there's some of that today. You have a sociological phenomenon. Americans seem to want to live next to people more like them, go to church with the same people. We're choosing as a society to underscore our own kind of sets of views rather than looking at other views. For example, conservatives tend to watch one television network, liberals another. Conservatives tend to look at certain kinds of blogs, liberals another. When I used to teach, I used to tell my kids, if you're conservative, find a liberal blog to look at. If you're conservative or liberal, find a conservative blog. But just a lot of changes in our society, and I think change is discombobulating.
We're in the midst of a particularly contentious election year.
Yes, we are.
And I wonder, with the research that tells us that there's a tremendous loss of trust and confidence in government and government officials, what do you think the loss of civility means to the election? Will it cause people to withdraw from the process and give up hope? Will it energize people to get more involved? What do you anticipate?
Well, these are very difficult things to predict. There are political scientists that measure intensity, and they argue at given points in time a liberal's more likely to vote, at other times a conservative, a Republican versus a Democrat. And one never knows, because we're also in a fast-changing world where people see things happen and suddenly reach different decisions. Now, we know there are historic trends that when a new president is elected, the first election afterwards sometimes is a reaction to the new president. We know that when times are tough, there's often a movement to vote against the ends. And so you see that politically in between parties. You also see something I've never seen as much of in my lifetime, an anti-incumbent feeling. And generally in American politics, incumbents have a leg up. That doesn't mean they always win, but they have a leg up. This particular year, that leg up is probably a smaller leg than norm. And there is a sense that if you just take economics at the American family level, at the local level, at the county, city, state, and federal government level, there's concern for debt. And that drives people to think in given ways that are not as normal as they normally think.
You're taking this issue on as chair of the National Endowment for the Humanities. I'd like for you to talk just a bit about what you believe some of the potential solutions are to the problem that concerns all of us, and what role might the humanities play in this?
Well, there are no grand solutions to anything in life. My own personal view is that if you take any level of social organization, whether it be in the community or larger, that organizations that can't act in a unified way are weakened. At the same time, if you take any level of social organization, if it's not composed of different people with different attitudes and different views, it doesn't work very well either. And so somehow the challenge for all of us is to think more respectfully of people a little different than we are, and to recognize that we're all Americans. And therefore, let's think first of all of national unity, and secondly, let's embrace diversity, and hopefully that diversity is vigorous and well stated, but always recognizing the other guy has something you can learn from.
What suggestions do you offer to us in higher education?
This is a time in higher education that things are tough. State support is lessening, federal support is not as great as it's been, and private giving is hurt by the downturns in the markets. And so higher education is pulling its belt buckles in a bit. My only deep advice is that be very cautious in higher education to abandon the broad liberal arts disciplines, history, literature, philosophy, comparative religion, and recognize that these are the kinds of disciplines that help people learn from the past, disciplines that help people put themselves in the thinking shoes of others. You read a novel, you're reading about a set of characters you've never seen before, and you identify or don't identify with a character, but you learn from that character's situation and how they think. And we're going to have to think more about other people than we ever have before.
We've been talking with Jim Leach, Chair of the National Endowment for the Humanities, who is at Samford University this evening to give a talk on civility. The program is co-sponsored by the Alabama Humanities Foundation and the Birmingham Area Consortium on Higher Education.